think about what day of the week it is because I have been on home arrest with my family for over 3 weeks now. I know this is true for everyone. This is such an uncertain and scary time. So much of this is out of our control. My business, I'm a dentist in my real life, and my business has been closed for over 3 weeks and will be closed for another 3 weeks. And then it will all depend on what's happening in our community as to whether we can start seeing patients again. We all have our own personal situations going on in this, and everyone's affected a little bit differently. But yesterday was a pretty dark day for me, and it's not my usual personality. I'm completely a rainbows and unicorns kind of girl. So today I thought, what is something that is in my control? Because everything that's happening in the outside world is 100% outside of my control, other than the fact that I'm staying home and safe with my family and trying to do my part in the social distancing. But one of the things we can control one of the things that I can control and help you in return, is coming to our mat, really slowing our breath, and trying to find a little bit of stillness and peace in our minds, in our hearts, and in our souls. So this practice today will be a little bit harder practice. There will be options and variations for anyone that wants to follow along. We will be moving into some hip opening and moving toward possibly taking this into flying pigeon. I'll offer lots of options and variations along the way. If you have blocks, I invite you to get them and have them accessible for you at the top of your mat. And so we'll begin. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of my life. And we are going to begin today in child's pose. So we'll come onto our knees, bring the knees mat distance apart. Bring the big toes together behind you, pressing hips back toward the heels, and then walking the hands forward on the mat. Letting the forehead rest gently on the mat. You can open the arms a little bit wider here for a few breaths if you'd like, if having them straight forward is a little bit hard on the shoulders. But just begin to bring the awareness in and bring the awareness toward the breath. Taking a deep inhale through the nose. And pressing hips back to heels as you exhale through the mouth. We'll do this 3 more times. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, pressing hips to heels, maybe widening the shoulder blades across the back. 2 more full breaths here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, open the mouth, side out. Inhale deeply through the nose. Exhale, side out. Lifting gently up into that tabletop position. We'll bring the hands under the shoulders and the knees gently below the hips. And we'll take an inhale right here, drawing belly button to spine. And with the exhale, we're pressing hips back to heels. Inhale, shifting back to tabletop, but bringing hips to the right side. Exhale, pressing hips back to heels. Inhale, tabletop, and shifting hips to the left. Exhale, hips to heels. Inhale, tabletop, hips to the right. Exhale, back to the heels. Inhale, lifting tabletop, hips to the left. Exhale, hips to heels. We'll take it through 1 more cycle, just our breath. Then walking hands forward, hips are lifting over the knees. We're moving into an extended puppy pose. Forehead gently presses down toward the mat. Hips are over knees, tops of the feet pressing to the mat. One more full breath cycle here. Then gently walk the hands back underneath the shoulders, coming back to that tabletop position. Taking a few moments here to stretch the wrists, we'll bring the fingertips in toward one another, pressing firmly into the palms and then shifting the weight from side to side, maybe taking circles, bringing the weight forward and back. Then lifting the palms and turning fingertips to opposite sides of the mat. Hands still under the shoulders, gently shifting the weight side to side, front to back. Then lifting the palms and taking the fingertips back toward the knees, maybe one at a time. This is a little bit more intense. Weight shifts front to back and side to side. Then finally, if you'd like, you can bring the tops of the hands to the mat. I like to do this one at a time. It's very intense. Fingertips are pointing back toward the knees. Tops of the hands on the mat. Then shift your weight back into your heels. Shoulders come over hips. Bring the palms together, interlace the fingers, and rotate the wrists a little bit here. Almost as if you're holding a sword and you're swaying the sword side to side, and then opposite direction with those wrists. And then release the palms and just vigorously shake the hands out. Then coming back to that beautiful tabletop position, we'll firmly press into the palms. Fingers are spread wide. Pointer fingers are parallel to each other and pointing to the front of the room. Eyes of the elbows gently turn toward one another. Forearms are pressing forward. Moving into the cat-cow breath, we'll take an inhale, drop the belly, lift the tail, lift the gaze. And with the exhale, round the spine, gaze to thighs, mat pressing away. Inhale, belly drops, tail lifts, gaze lifts. Exhale, spine rounds, gaze to thighs, really pressing the mat away. We'll take 3 more full breaths. Keep the awareness on the eyes of the elbows. Keep them drawing in toward one another as you move gently through these cat-cow breaths. We'll take 1 more full breath cycle. Then coming back to neutral tabletop, step your left foot back behind you and lift the right fingertips in front of you. Left heel lifts to the height of the hips. And stay here with the exhale. 1 breath in, reaching fingertips and toes. And on the exhale, take the hand and foot to the diagonal, keeping the core engaged. Inhale where you are. And exhale, hand and knee front and back of the room. Inhale, reach and extend. Exhale, right elbow rounds to left knee. Inhale, extend. Exhale, round elbow to knee. 1 more full cycle. Inhale, reach. Exhale, round elbow to knee. Inhale, reach front and back of the room. And exhale, release. Right foot extends behind you. Ball the foot on the mat. Left fingertips reach forward. Inhale, lifting that heel to the height of the hip. And on the exhale, gently close right hip to the mat. Inhale, reach and extend. Exhale, hand and foot to the diagonal. One inhale here. Exhale, hand and foot front and back of the room. Inhale, reach. Exhale, round knee to elbow, spine rounds. Inhale, reach. Exhale, round knee to elbow. One more full cycle. Inhale to reach. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, reach and extend. And exhale, hand and knee to the mat. Walking hands forward, one hand print. Turning the toes under. Let's take an inhale together. And with the exhale, we'll lift the hips, pressing it back, downward dog. Feet hip distance apart. Toes turning gently in. Keeping a deep bend in the knees to begin, or maybe pedaling one heel at a time back toward the back of the room. We'll separate the feet wider than the mat, pressing the heels down toward the floor, reaching the heart and chest down toward the mat. Ears are inside those upper arms, so neck is one long extension of the spine. Let's inhale together. Exhale, side out. Inhale, lift up to the tippy toes. And exhale, melt the heels to the mat. Take a slight bend in the knees, and we'll walk the hands gently back toward the feet. Hands can stay on the mat underneath the shoulders in a wide leg forward fold. Or hands can come to opposite elbows, letting crown of the head gently float toward the mat. Your weight is in the balls of the feet. You can still keep a slight bend in the knees. Shake your head no. Shake your head yes. Just let the head float to the earth as the hips lift up toward the ceiling. Staying connected to the breath. Feeling that beautiful stretch through the back of the legs. Let's inhale together through the nose. Exhale, open the mouth, side out. One more deep breath here. Weight stays slightly forward. Gently release your hands back down to the mat into the shoulders. Walk the hands back out to that wide leg downward dog. Melt the heels toward the mat. Chest and heart melts toward the mat. Let's unite breath. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. One more time. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. Gently walk the feet back into that traditional downward facing dog. Feet hip distance apart. Knees bent. Heels pressing to the mat. Inhale, bend the knees and look forward. Exhale, step or float to the top of your mat. Inhale and half lift, hands to shins or thighs, spine extends. And exhale, fold forward, hands to mat. Reverse swan dive, arms reaching out and overhead. Hands, heart center. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, open the arms. Inhale the arms overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, palms out. And exhale, open. Inhale, both arms overhead. Exhale, hands heart center, pressing into left foot, coming up onto the ball of the right foot, and then opening knee to the right. Heel of the right foot is pressing against that lower inside of the leg. You can stay right here in tree pose, Vrikshasana, firmly pressing palms together, knee presses open, body is active and strong, gazing forward. You can lift your leg, your right foot, and place it against the sole or the inner leg of the left. Or you can lift the foot and bring it to that upper thigh. Try not to place any direct pressure on the knee. Option if you like to press fingertips up toward the ceiling. An option if you like to release the hands behind the back. Knuckles interlace, shoulder blades draw together, chest and heart opens. Option if you'd like here to lift your gaze up toward the ceiling. And final option would be to close the eyes. Your shoulder blades are drawing together. Your right knee presses open. Inhale, releasing arms overhead. Exhale, hands coming to heart center. Inhale, right thigh releases in front of you, foot is flexed. And exhale, right foot to the mat. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale and half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back to plank. And exhale here. Inhale, slightly forward. And exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana. Elbows tight to the body. Inhale, tops of the feet to the mat. Chest and heart reach forward for cobra. And exhale, past your tabletop. Turn the toes under. Lift the hips, downward dog. 2 breaths here. Option to lift up to the tippy toes as you inhale. Melting heels as you exhale. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. Inhale, bend the knees and look forward. Exhale, gently step to the top of the mat. Half lift. And fold forward. Reverse swan dive. Hands heart center. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, open. Inhale, both arms overhead. Exhale, heart center, pressing into right foot. Coming up onto the ball of the left. And opening knee to the left. Vrikshasana, tree pose. Focusing your gaze in front of you, you can stay right here. Right side of the body's active and strong. Option if you'd like to lift the foot and place it against the low leg or the upper leg. Foot and leg actively pressing toward one another, knee pressing open. Option to inhale the arms overhead. An option to release the hands behind the back. Interlace the knuckles, draw the knuckles down, shoulder blades together, chest and heart open. Knee continues to press open here. Option to take gaze slightly up. An option to close the eyes. Staying connected to your beautiful breath in any balancing pose. And releasing hands back overhead. Hands coming to heart center. Left knee releases forward, foot is flexed. And foot releases to the mat, hands release, inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, heart center, pressing into feet, pressing palms together. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, swan dive forward.
Half lift.
And fold forward. Stepping right foot back to runner's lunge. Left knee over ankle. Pressing into the fingertips, take the gaze forward. And drop right knee and foot to the mat. Inhale the arms overhead. Exhale, hands heart center as you sink into the hip. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, reverse prayer, sinking into that hip. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, heart center, sinking into this low lunge. Inhale, lift. Exhale, reverse prayer. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sinking, hands heart center. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, reverse prayer. Inhale, arms overhead, palms separated, palms facing each other. And exhale, hands to the mat, runner's lunge. Stepping back to plank or half plank, take it through your vinyasa. If you'd like to lift the right leg as you lower in a one-legged chaturanga, then lowering to cobra or upward dog, and lifting hips, pressing back, downward facing dog. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. Inhale, right leg high behind you into a three-legged dog. And exhale, bend the knee, sweeping it through runner's lunge. Option if you like to drop your left knee and foot to the mat, or we're lifting into a high lunge. Shoulders over hips. Pressing out through that back heel. Belly draws in. Shoulders drop down. One more breath here. Then we'll straighten the front leg and we'll drop our back foot into that warrior two position. Heels are either in alignment or heel to arch. Back toes in 1 inch. Front knee directly over the front ankle and shoulders over hips. Inhale, palms together overhead, straighten the leg. Exhale, bend the front knee, warrior two. One breath in and one breath out. Inhale the right palm up. Exhale, reverse warrior. Left hand draws down the thigh or half wraps around the back. Hips stay open here, reaching through the right side of the body. Front knee continues to press open. One more breath. Inhale, palms together overhead. And exhale, warrior two. One breath in. Exhale, right elbow finds right thigh, left fingertips overhead, side angle pose. Shoulders are stacked. Chest and heart is open. Right elbow is merely here to balance. You can stay here with fingertips up. You can take the fingertips to the front of the room for an extended side angle. You can bring that left hand behind the back, half wrapping and drawing the left shoulder open. Your front knee continues to press open here. Then option if you have blocks, bringing your left hand to your hip, bend the front knee and grab your block, then we'll move into half moon. So the block will move about 12 inches in front of you on the mat as your back foot bumps you gently up. Hand is underneath the shoulder, hips stacking open, shoulders stacking open. Left foot is flexed and lifted up to the height of the hip. And then left fingertips can reach up toward the ceiling. Option, if you like, you can bend this left leg and bind here for candy cane pose. Or just stay where you are here in Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Then we'll gently bring left hand back to the hip and release that left foot back behind us. Lifting up and bending the knee, warrior two. 2 breaths here. Belly drawing in, tailbone drawing down. 1 breath in. Exhale, windmill, hands to the mat, pivoting on the left foot to runner's lunge. Bringing the right hand to the inside of that right foot and heel toeing right foot out to the edge of the mat. We're moving into lizard pose here. Option to stay lifted with the back knee off the mat, or you can drop the back knee down to the mat, opening onto the knife edge of that right foot and just gently moving into the hips. You can stay lifted here, or if you'd like to lower down onto your elbows or forearms, just really opening through that right hip. Option to take your blocks and use them for any variation of lizard that you would like. Option here also, if splits is part of your practice, you can gently walk the right leg forward and move into your splits. Just taking this time here for anything extra that you'd like to add. If an arm balance is in your practice, Ekapada Kundiyanasana, if you'd like to move into that here, or just simply stay with this lizard pose. Whatever feels right for you. And then when you're ready, we'll very gently come back up, shoulders lifting, hands under hips, or hands under shoulders. And then walking that right foot back between the hands. We'll lift into runner's lunge, bring the gaze forward, take 1 inhale here. And with the exhale, we'll step gently to the top of the mat. Separating the feet, hip distance apart. Taking a deep bend in the knees here, we're moving into Padangusthasana. Knees are bent, chest adheres to the thighs. Reaching down with the peace fingers and the big thumb, grabbing the big toe and taking that yogi toe lock. Knees are bent, chest adhered to thighs. Elbows pointing out to opposite sides of the room and head hanging long. Weight comes forward into the balls of the feet. As you begin to press down with the big toes, lifting up through the hips. Shake the head no here, just let the neck be nice and long. Just stretching the backs of the legs here in Padangusthasana. There's an option if you'd like to stay here, or release the hands to shoulder distance, coming up onto the tippy toes behind you, moving into crow pose. You can take your block and place it underneath your feet. Hands should be under shoulders, elbows are bent like a chaturanga. Bringing the knees to the backs of the arms, gaze coming 12 inches forward. Belly draws in and up, imagine you're in cat pose. And maybe you take 1 foot off the block at a time. Maybe you lift both feet off the block. Staying connected to that beautiful breath here. And when you're ready, gently letting your feet come back to the mat. We'll release the hands down to the mat, releasing the chest from those upper thighs, and gently roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Head and neck coming up last. Grabbing a sip of water here if you'd like, knowing that that's available to you at any point during this flow. It's hard to lead and do all at the same time. Then we'll come back to the mat and repeat on opposite side. Coming back into your mountain pose, Tadasana. Feet are together or slightly apart. Heels line up behind your second and third toes. Front body is activated, belly draws in, shoulders draw back, Hands reach down toward the earth, gazing forward. Palms are pressing forward. Pinky fingers slightly rotating toward the front of the room. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, fold forward. Half lift. And forward fold. Stepping left foot back to runner's lunge. And exhale here, right knee over right ankle, fingers pressing to the mat. Take an inhale, gazing forward. And exhale, left knee and foot drop to the mat. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, heart center, sinking into that hip. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, reverse prayer. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, sinking heart center. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, reverse prayer. We'll take one last full cycle. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, sink heart center. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, reverse prayer. Inhale the palms up, hands separated. And exhale, fingertips to the mat, runner's lunge. Inhale, right foot back to plank. And take it through your vinyasa. You can lift the left foot off the mat and take a one-legged chaturanga. Gently sweeping chest and heart forward, maybe lifting into upward dog. Then we'll curl the toes under and meet in downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. One more time, inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, melt the heels. Inhale, left foot high behind you. Exhale, bend the knee, sweep it through runner's lunge. You can drop your right knee and foot here, or lift into high crescent lunge. Shoulders over hips. Belly drawing in. Left knee over left ankle. Pressing through that right heel. 2 more breaths. Then inhale, straighten the front leg. And on the exhale, we're moving into our warrior 2 position. Taking your time here. Left knee over left ankle. Really press through the back edge of your right foot. Engaging that inner right thigh. Gazing over left fingertips. Inhale, palms together overhead. Exhale, bend the knee, warrior 2. 1 breath in. 1 breath out. Inhale, left palm up. Exhale, reverse warrior. Hips are open. Reaching through the left side body. Belly drawing in. Shoulders drawing down. Inhale, palms together overhead, straighten the leg. Exhale, bend the front knee, warrior 2. 1 breath in. Exhale, left elbow finds left thigh, right fingertips reaching overhead. You can extend this left arm forward toward the side of the mat. You can take the left arm to the front of the mat. You can take right fingertips to the front of the room. You can draw right hands behind the back, half wrapping and opening the right shoulder. You can release your left hand to a block or all the way down to the mat, staying here in side angle pose. Or if you'd like to move into half moon, right hand comes to hip, left hand comes to the block, bumping the right foot up as you take the block forward in front of you about 12 inches. Block is under the shoulder. Shoulders stacked, hips stacked and open. Option to keep the right hand on the hip Or reach right fingertips up toward the ceiling. Staying connected to your breath, your gaze can be forward, your gaze can be up toward those fingertips, or your gaze can be down towards your block. Holding this as long as you'd like. But when you're ready, right hand comes to hip, and we gently release that right foot back to our warrior two position. Then bending the front knee, sinking here. Shoulders over hips, belly draws in, tailbone draws down, gazing forward. Let's take one breath in here. And on the exhale, we'll windmill fingertips to the mat, runner's lunge. Left hand comes to the inside of that left foot, and left foot heel toes out to the edge of the mat. Moving into our lizard pose, lots of options. You can stay lifted here. Your back knee can drop to the block, to the mat. You can open onto the knife edge of that left foot. You can gently inch the left foot forward. You can move into your splits from here, Hanumanasana. You can lower gently down onto your forearms. Just taking whatever feels right for you here in lizard pose. Maybe lowering to one elbow. Maybe the other elbow's on a block. Just take your time here, really opening through this hip. Again, if an arm balance is in your practice, you can move into that if you want to prep for that. Your foot is to the outer edge of your mat. You lift up onto the ball of that back foot. Elbows come in and press against both hips. Elbows are bent. The left leg comes to the back of this left arm. The gaze comes forward, belly draws in and up, and maybe you lift into that arm balance. When you're ready, you'll heel toe the foot back between the hands, lift into runner's lunge, gaze forward, step it back to plank, and drop knees to the mat. Bring the big toes together, press hips back to heels, and we'll take a few breaths here in child's pose. Inhale together. Exhale, side out. Inhale, left fingertips slightly forward. And on the exhale, thread your left arm underneath that right armpit. Left cheek and left shoulder come to the mat. Hips press back toward the heels. Option if you'd like to bring your right arm behind the back and open that right shoulder. One more full breath here. Reaching your right fingertips back to the top of the mat. And then reaching left fingertips back to the top of the mat. We'll take one breath here, hips sinking to heels. Inhale, right fingertips slightly forward. And on the exhale, the right arm threads underneath that left armpit, right cheek and right shoulder to the mat. Hips press back to heels. Option to reach your left arm behind the back and gently open that left shoulder. 2 more breaths here. Inhale your left fingertips back to the top of the mat if the arm is behind the back. And on the exhale, thread right fingertips back to the top of the mat. One more breath here. Then we'll gently press up into downward facing dog. Hands slightly in front of the shoulders, toes turning under, hips lifting behind you. We'll take a couple of breaths here in downward dog. You can keep that bend in the knees if you'd like. You can continue to pedal heels. Then moving into pigeon pose. Let's take an inhale where we are. Exhale, let it go. Inhale the right toes high behind you. And on the exhale, bend the knee, sweeping shin just behind your wrists. Your right foot is flexed. Your left leg is coming directly back behind you. You can take a block or a blanket and press it underneath that right hip. In pigeon pose, this is very active. The right foot stays flexed, the left leg directly behind you. We're drawing these gently toward one another here energetically so that the hips are parallel to the mat. You can stay lifted here in this pigeon pose, or if you'd like to lower down onto the forearms, or you can lower all the way to the mat. Just depends on your flexibility. You can take your other block if you like and rest your forehead on the block. But remember, this is an active posture. Don't let this right hip sink. Our knees are drawing toward one another. Top of that left foot actively presses to the mat. Beautiful. There is an option if mermaid is in your practice. You can gently walk the hands back under the shoulders, shoulders back over hips. It's not in my practice, but I'll guide you through it. Bend the left leg and reach back with your right hand for the top of that left foot. Shoulders stay over hips here. Foot and hand actively press together. The hips should stay parallel so the knees continue to draw toward one another. And if this is comfortable for you, you have the option to reach your left fingertips to the front of the room or even overhead. Try not to compromise the positioning of the hips in order to move deeper into this pose. Then we'll gently release the leg, hands coming back under the shoulders, palms on the mat. If you've placed a block under your hips, gently lift the hips and remove the block. Hands are firmly pressing into the mat, shoulder distance apart. The right left toes turn under and we'll sweep that right leg back into that three-legged dog. Then releasing right foot down to the mat. We'll take 2 breaths here in downward dog. Inhale, left toes high behind you. And on the exhale, bend the knees, sweeping shin behind the wrists. Grabbing your block if you'd like and place it underneath your left hip. Left foot is flexed. Right foot, look back, right leg is coming directly back from that right hip. Your knees gently draw toward one another. Try not to sink into this left hip. And then stay lifted if you'd like here in pigeon pose. Or you can gently lower down onto forearms. Or take your chest and torso all the way to the mat. Remember, knees gently draw toward one another so that the back of your sacrum is flat. If I were to walk around and place a glass on your sacrum, the glass would be balanced here. Just finding what feels comfortable, but also stays active. You can stay lowered here, or if mermaid, you'd like to practice it on this other side. Hands come back under shoulders, shoulders come back under hips. Shoulders come back over hips. We'll bend the right leg and reach back with the left hand, grabbing the top of the foot. Drawing shoulders back here, gazing gently forward. You can stay right here, or if this is comfortable, you can lift your right fingertips to the front of the room. But keep that awareness on the hips. Knees are gently drawing together. Then letting the hands release back under the shoulders, lifting this hip and removing your block. Hands firmly plant on the mat underneath the shoulders. Right toes turn under with an inhale. And with the exhale, we'll sweep that left leg back into that three-legged dog and release downward dog. 2 breaths here. This will be our final downward dog. Let's inhale, tippy toes. And exhale, melt the heels. Inhale, bend the knees and look forward. And exhale, step or float to the top of the mat. Half lift. And fold forward. Reverse swan dive. hands, heart center. Inhale, palms up. And exhale, open the arms. Take a quick sip of water if you like here. And we'll have lots of options here for this final posture before we go to the mat. If you have blocks, I invite you to place them at the top of your mat at the highest setting. You won't be able to lift into flying pigeon if your hands don't firmly either come to a flat block or all the way to the mat. But there will be lots of options along the way here. So listen to your body, always listen to your body. This is a very intense hip opening pose, but there's lots of beautiful options along the way. So we'll place the feet at the top of the mat, about hip distance apart. We'll press down firmly into the feet and bring the hands overhead and then to heart center. We'll take one breath in here. And with the exhale, we'll bend the knees and sit back into our chair. This may be as far as you go, just staying here in Utkatasana. Or if you'd like, you can lift your right leg and bring the ankle of the right leg up to the middle of the left thigh. Sitting back gently in your chair, weight is in the heels, the right foot stays flexed. You can stay right here balancing. This is a beautiful place to stay. Or if you'd like to move deeper, begin to fold forward. The backs of your arms come to the knee and ankle of the right leg. Your hands are on the blocks at this point. The right toes are hooking around the outside of that left arm. Your gaze comes gently forward, belly draws in and up. This is maybe as far as you go. If you can reach the blocks and you'd like to lower them to that flat setting and firmly place the hands on the blocks, bring the weight slightly forward. Your toes are wrapping outside that left arm, gazing forward 12 inches, and belly draws in and up. Maybe you gently lift the toes off the mat here, or maybe you lift completely into that flying pigeon. You can stay here as long as you'd like, take as much time as you'd like, or very gently bring hands back to heart center. Gently lift up and release that right foot back to the mat. We'll shake out the hips here. Take a couple of breaths. These arm balancing postures are really intense. They're really challenging, but they're also really rewarding. So the more you practice these, the more flexibility, the more depth you'll get in the pose. And maybe one day you'll lift into flying pigeon. If you are hands on the floor without your blocks at all, you can take a block and it can be behind you underneath your feet. So that'll give your backside a little bit more lift, and maybe you can take one toe off the mat. Well, I guess you're only on one toe, so maybe you can gently take that toe off the mat. All right, we'll come back to mountain pose Tadasana, separating the feet a little bit wider, so maybe hip distance apart. Shoulder blades drawing back, belly drawing in, hands reaching to the earth. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, heart center, and bending the knees, sitting back into the chair. Tailbone draws down, belly draws in, palms press together. Maybe you stay right here, or pressing into right foot, cross the left ankle on the middle of the thigh. You can reach down and gently draw that leg a little bit higher, and then bring hands back to heart center, bending the knees, sitting back into your chair. Staying here or gently hinging forward. So backs of your arms, your back of your left arm comes to the back or to the front of that knee. The back of the right arm comes to the ankle or the front of that shin. Right toes wrap around, or left toes wrap around the outside of this right arm. Gaze forward, maybe weight comes forward. This is where you could have the block underneath your right foot. If your hands are reaching the highest setting on the block, maybe lower blocks to the next level. And you can gently lift here with the blocks flat on the floor. If your hands are reaching down to the earth, gently draw the belly in and up. Shoulder blades draw out to the sides of the body. Gaze forward, and maybe you take that weight slightly forward and maybe lift those right toes off the mat. Otherwise, we'll gently come out of this posture and release. Separating feet mat distance apart. We'll make our way down onto the mat through yogi squat, malasana. Feet are open to the 45-degree angle. Shoulders over hips, hands at heart center. Take a nice deep breath in, reaching up through the top of the head. And then with the exhale, begin to bend your knees. Maybe you only lower to yogi squat, or goddess pose. Or maybe as you lower, you adjust the width of your feet. You want all four corners of both feet firmly on the mat. Your knees are pressing open here, spine is long. There's an option if you'd like to take a block and place it under your hips or your sitting bones. For a supported yogi squat here, gently pressing those knees open, spine long and extended. You can sway back and forth here in your yogi squat, or if you'd like to take one more crow pose, bakasana, you can release hands shoulder distance apart, take a big deep bend in the elbows, come up under the tippy toes behind you, knees come to the backs of the arms. Squeezing knees against the arms, your gaze comes forward, belly draws in and up, weight comes forward, and maybe you lift into crow pose. If you're safely and easily accessing crow pose, then to move into crane pose, you want to straighten those arms so there's no bend in the elbows. Just things to work toward. Maybe none of it will be part of your practice, and that's totally, totally fine. Our most important goal for yoga is to listen to our bodies and to always be safe so we can continue to practice. You can gently let your sitting bones come down to the mat, and legs will extend in front of us. Feet are flexed, hands are pressing down to either side of the hip. Palms firmly pressing into the mat, fingertips are forward. Or if fist is more accessible for the length of your arms, just see what feels better for you. The toes are drawing back here. Chest is drawing gently forward. Belly draws in. So if you reach behind the back, you have a slight concavity. Try not to let the spine